Oh lord, I don't know why I said werewolf. Wolf Deku was half dragon, half vampire. So before we start this video, guys, a good majority of his powers are going to be insanely enhanced, so be prepared. I also ended up making Deku a jerk vampire instead of making him just a basic, dragon, because I felt like that'd be boring. I wanted the story to have more spark to it. I wanted to be more interesting. So here we are. Now, let me explain the backstory of both of Deku's parents before I can even much get into this. The storyline will start off with Hisashi Midoriya. Hisashi Midoriya was a lower class citizen of his kingdom. He stemmed down from a very high kingdom amongst the people. This kingdom was known by many top agents amongst every single state and continent on the earth. The issue is this place was unknown to actual people and could not be entered. The only way you were allowed to enter is you were allowed to by the king. Hisashi himself was so low in ranks and he was so weak in comparison to everyone else that he was literally kicked out of the kingdom. He was exiled. After all, Hisashi was too weak to be considered one of the people. He couldn't even unleash a powerful fire. His fire breathing was pathetic, and it was viewed as disgusting. The king of this realm possessed the power to literally conjure up negative flames, which I'll explain later. I'm gonna call this 0 point. Well, he has a power called Zero, which is gonna be busted. It doesn't matter because he's gonna be dead, but really busted power. Now, he was exiled from his people. He was stripped of his wings, stripped of his horns. Hisashi looked as if a normal human after they were done with him. So, he lives amongst the humans. But, he learned pretty quickly whilst living amongst the humans that he was actually stronger than basically every single human. Every basic human who had a simple quirk, he could easily overpower them. Someone who had an enhancement quirk, he could overpower him. But if you're someone of, I'd say, above the top 30 heroes, then only then will Hisashi begin to have a problem with you. So Hisashi ended up becoming a hero. His name was, well, they called him Dragonburn. Simple name. He didn't really want to be complicated with it. So, pro hero Dragonburn. He was the 31st hero. Though that he was pretty low in numbers, in comparison to the other hundreds of heroes, Hisashi was pretty strong. Hisashi, realistically speaking, could actually keep up with the top 20. The issue is, they're a bit more dangerous, and he will actually lose the fight if he were to fight anyone above number 25. Once he hits 24, that's when Hisashi 100% will lose. The top 30 are the closest to him. So everything after 25, he could actually defeat, but it'll be with pretty high diff. But now we turn over towards Inko. Inko Vandar. I don't think I said his name right, but Inko Escalier Vandar something. Some random name. The point is, she was the queen of the vampires. And Inko herself grew bored of this life. She hated killing people. She hated harming innocent children. She didn't want that. So, Inko instead moved onward. She left her kingdom. She left her people. She ended up going off towards to live amongst the mortals. And this time around, Inko is massively stronger than Hisashi. I'm going to make this very clear. She is massively stronger than Hisashi. I just want you to know that. But whilst living amongst the humans, she absolutely soloed. Inko became the number 3 pro hero. Her name was Queen Dracula. And she was an absolute monster. Now to explain something. You might be thinking that I'm just going to be giving him like basic powers, but no. You see, the vampires are going to have all the basic abilities, and so will the dragons. So enhanced strength, speed, durability, regeneration, and immortality. I don't really need to explain that. Just know that those are going to be the basic abilities Izuku going to have. But then let's get into his actual other powers from his parents. From Hisashi, he will inherit pyrokinesis and the ability to breathe fire and control fire at will. From Inko, he will have mind control. He will also have flight. Now, his flight is capable of flying without accessing his dragon wings, which I'll explain later. But he has flight. He's able to spawn claws from Inko. He's able to spawn fangs from Inko. Izuku is able to completely control the blood flow of himself and is able to literally reattach himself. He's able to turn others into vampires. Once you're turned into a vampire, your quirk is like a 90% chance of your quirk being destroyed, but the 10% chance of your quirk not being destroyed, your quirk will simply be enhanced a lot. He'll have the ability to completely control anyone that he turns into a vampire. Izuku is completely unkillable. Hisashi has one weakness, which is not a stake through the heart, believe it or not. But he has a good control over bats. He's able to turn into a bat. He's able to like literally travel through shadows. There's more onto it, and there's going to be way more abilities, like him being able to turn into a swarm of bats. But he's not going to have every single power right from the start. So I am listing future abilities as I talk. I just want you to know that he's able to turn invisible. He's able to have slight telekinesis. He's able to freeze people in place. Or he's able to just freeze everything in place. But he has to be incredibly powerful to freeze everything, and this ability does not work on other vampires or other supernatural creatures. Therefore, if you are something that is supernatural, you will be able to move. This does not include people with quirks on the other hand, but if you're not a natural living creature, you are immune to the effects of the freeze. Anyways, we can continue onward from here. Now to explain his dragon powers. And since I don't want to take too long on this, I'm gonna simplify in the simplest way I can put it. He's able to create scales at anywhere around his body. He has control over this blue fire, this blue pyrokinetic fire that is infused with dead souls. Yes, it's infused with souls. This is called Soul Flame. His Soul Flame can only be used once, and then Izuku ends up using another technique which allows him the ability to tap into his full potential and channel the flames of the souls. Which is very simple. It's actually the souls of his ancestors that imbue the power of the flames, making it stronger, which I'll explain later. But this flame is not the blue you see in the thumbnail. It's actually a bit lighter and it's sort of greenish. The point is, the fire is actually really busted and it can easily tear through any basic living human. Anyways, this fire can literally just burn your soul. Okay? He has access to a slight electrokinesis. This electrokinesis is not profound. It's not incredibly broken, but know this, he has control over it, and he's highly immune to lightning. He's able to literally coat his entire body and pretty much fire, and he's able to coat his entire body in lightning. Like I said, the lightning is not very strong, but when he coats his body in lightning, then coats it in fire, he only enhances the power of both. Mind you, using both powers at once is very tiresome, and Izuku has the ability to conjure up dragon horns, wings, and even enter a dragon form. If you guys look at the thumbnail, it's pretty hard to see. I made it that way on purpose, but you guys can see that form that Izuku can enter. His dragon human vampire hybrid form is very complicated, but in this form, he's pretty much unstoppable. And then he has his true dragon form, which is him turning into a legit real dragon. And then he has a form in between even those forms where he just is in that form but buff. So, yeah. He has a speed form where he's able to only coat his feet and his scales and his arms and his scales. And in this mode, he also sprouts his wings and he becomes about 6 times faster. 6 times is being really nice with it. It's probably a good... if I had to put him in speeds, he'll be around he'll go from being, I'd say, Bakugo. Nah, Bakugo's the fastest in the verse currently. He'll go from being, I'd say, I don't know, either levels of speed to easily eclipsing Bakugo pretty much instantly. And yes, he's going to be faster. That's just the best example I could find for now. So he's going to, become very fast. Anyways, Hisashi ended up meeting Inko. They had a couple of drinks and they realized that both of them aren't humans. When they both realized this, they immediately pulled each other to the side. Inko immediately questions, what is he? Is he a werewolf? Is he a vampire like her? Hisashi says, no, if you see me breathe fire. Then what could you be? A witch? She would question. Are you a warlock? A wizard? She began to go on and name multiple more supernatural creatures. I'm a dragon. You're a what? I'm a dragon. Inko looks at him confused. Dragons don't exist. Oh, but we do. We never lived amongst the people. You are all unhinged. The vampires were brutal. They were seen as brutal amongst my people. And the werewolves were seen as even worse. They were actual, legit animals. Y'all all had problems, so I refused to be allowed around you. But I was too weak to live amongst my people, and I was exiled. Weak? Inko just burst out laughing. You're not weak, Hisashi. You simply just do not know your true potential, she would say. We're both supernaturals. Only we can understand one another. Were you ever properly trained? I was a peasant. Of course I wasn't trained. No one cared enough to train me. Look at that. No one cared enough to train you, huh? If they didn't care enough to train you, then why did you stay there? Why did you continue to try to be this person that you're not? Hisashi, you are a hero. And I can teach you a lot of things. Techniques amongst our peoples. But, first, is there anything you have from your world? Hisashi would nod. He hands her a few books that he stole. I have a friend in there. He's able to smuggle things back to me often. I tried everything I could in order to learn powers I could have in this form. I'm not able to tap into my true nature anymore. It was stolen, taken from me. I'm basically nothing. I'm no one anymore. So, yeah. Interesting. Come with me then. Inko ends up taking Hisashi off, where they end up compelling someone in order to give them their home for a couple of days. Once they lived there, Inko went over every single book and realized to Hisashi that it's very simple. Meditate. Communicate with your true self every single day and night that you can, and always apply all of your thoughts and time on it. Find out your heritage. Find out if there's anything about you that you feel like can be corrected. Hisashi, right your wrongs, Inko would say. If you right your wrongs, there's a high percent chance, a very high chance, that things may go better. You may be able to tap into your true power if that happens. But I'm no dragon, so I cannot convince you to do anything you do not want to do. Inko stands up. She leaves. Many years would pass. Believe it or not, years have passed at this point. Hisashi, over the years, rose to the ranks at rapid speeds. It's gotten as far as become the number 5 pro hero. Hawks is still a problem for him. A pretty big problem at that. His speed is too much, currently. But Hisashi has learned how to tap into more and more of his dragon force, harnessing more and more of his power that he once had. Hisashi is very quickly starting to regain his true power. And not only is that the case, he's starting to surpass what he once was. He realizes pretty quickly that he's already stronger than what he was in his own realm, but he knows that this isn't all of his powers. He knows for a fact that he surpassed himself years ago, and yet he still can tap and still knows that there's more power from his world that he can draw upon. He knows that more of his power was still sealed. Even though he surpassed that power years ago, he still wants all of it back. It's like stupid, but it's honestly understandable. It's all of it's his power, not some of it, all of it was. So it's pretty understandable as to why he wants his power back. So, Inko looks at him. He rose pretty quickly. Yes, Mrs. Midoriya. How have you been? They had many long conversations in that night. Inko and Hisashi got it in. And to put it simple, Izuku Midoriya was conceived. Now, Inko been feeling weak lately. Every single day she was feeling weak, and suddenly, a couple days went on and Inko started to get stronger and stronger and stronger. It was, to Inko, confusing. The strength she was at, she was surpassing even her brother Dracula, the king of the vampires. This rise in power was absolutely crazy. A rise in power she's never felt before. So, she ended up actually leaving and returning to her kingdom, where there she's seen him. Dracula. Sister, Princess Inko, former queen. What makes you come here? She didn't explain Dracula what's going on, and Dracula looks at her confused. You're pregnant. Huh? Inko would immediately say, you're pregnant. Yumi says that's impossible. Vampires can't get pregnant. We have to literally breed with humans and then fully turn our children the minute they're born. He would nod. But, just from what I see, you are indeed pregnant. It's Interesting. I didn't think it was possible. Inko begins to just say that that's impossible. The only person who ever... How long? Dracula would look at her. A couple months now. How many exactly? 3. Can you tell the night of conception? Dracula says, of course I can. Blah blah blah. If what you're saying is true, the only man I slept with that night was Hisashi Midoriya. And he is a dragon. Inko would say, is it his quirk or no, he's a literal dragon. That's impossible. Dragons don't exist. We're vampires. Inko would say, your nephew's a werewolf. Yes, but the math doesn't add up. We've never heard anything about dragons, and the supernatural worlds are all connected. They viewed us as lesser, Inko would say, according to him. So they're racist is what I'm hearing. Pretty much. Okay. I don't really know what to do with the situation. This child could be an entirely new species. He could be the first Draco Empire. What are we supposed to do about this? Honestly, there's nothing that we can do for now, Inko. But what I can guarantee you is, you will stay here. Call the father. He'll be brought here underneath no circumstances or he to harm any of our people. So you need to tell our people not to harm him. He's powerful. Don't get me wrong. But he's not as powerful as any of us. Well, most of us. He can get hurt here. Especially by the Michelsons. Those unhinged bastards. Jeez, you just love to hate the Michelsons, don't you? Yes, of course I do. They were the original vampires aside from us. They're all crazy. She ends up walking away. With their Dracula would smile. Bring him in. Immediately, a bunch of vampires will all disappear. All heading towards Japan to retrieve Hisashi and explain everything to him. In the end, Hisashi ends up agreeing pretty much immediately. Because he knew something about dragons that even Inko did not know. Dragons are able to impregnate anyone. It does not matter. The dragon's magic bypass any other magic that's in there. Anything that prevents them from being pregnant, a dragon will, it goes through. Hisashi himself, he could have sworn he didn't bust, but it is what it is. So it doesn't make sense because it has to be him because no other creature can, get a dragon pregnant just like that. So it had to have been him. Anyways, he ends up showing up. And when he does, Inko explains everything to him. And there he meets Dracula for the first time. Hisashi Midoriya. It is a pleasure to meet the father of my nephew or niece or whatever. Or both. Shit. Make myself clear real quick. Suddenly a bunch of vampires all appeared around him with claws to Hisashi's neck. If you underneath any circumstances harm her, I will... How about I send in that little assassin here? Get your dragons away from me. Get your vampires away from me. Or I'll call him up. I did as much research on you or your people as I can. Just as much as I did on my own, he'd say. You're all afraid of him. So, calm down and I won't call him. After all, I'm Hisashi Midoriya. A dragon. If you think I can't find someone, I can find him pretty quickly. Hisashi would say, lower your men. Now I'm not going to threaten your people. But don't ever threaten me like that again. Even if you didn't finish your sentence you planned to. Remember this. I'm not afraid of any of you. Could you all defeat me? More than likely. But once that happened, he'll come here. He'd say, good luck. We time skip. Inko was pregnant for years. The reasoning behind Inko actually being pregnant for years is because of the fact that Inko is a vampire and it's pretty hard to get nutrients for a baby when you're a vampire. So it took much longer. During this time period, Hisashi had the guts to return to his home. But he didn't return alone. He returned with Inko and Dracula at his side. Well, there Hisashi faced his father for the first time. Father. Hisashi's father will look down on him. I thought you weren't allowed back in these lands, Hisashi. Who the hell are they? Meet Inko Midoriya, the mother of your grandson. What? He'd say. You mated with a human. You disgust. She's not a human. Werewolf? Witch? He continued to name every species until eventually he got onto vampire. Indeed. Former queen of the vampire, current princess of the vampires, after I resigned my throne to my brother, she'd say. You made a grave mistake mating with this boy. He's a fool. Woman, I will do nothing more in my power now to protect you. You're the mother of my grandson. His father may be a bastard, but the boy has done no wrong. You may enter. Hisashi, one wrong move, and I'll have you killed. Hisashi would nod. As he sat there and talked with him, Inko's like, you said you were a peasant. I grew up as a peasant. My mother was a peasant. My father is not. He's a high-class noble. Indeed. After all, I didn't believe you were mine, so of course you didn't live amongst us. You were weak. You want to still test that, Hisashi would say. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Let's find out then, if you still think I'm weak. Boy, if you're able to land more than 3 hits on me, I will stop hating you. 3 hits? Light work, Hisashi would say. Okay. Step out then. Immediately, Hisashi and Murashi stepped outside. His father's name is going to be Murashi, so just want y'all to know that. But they both stepped outside. Murashi got into a fighting stance. Hisashi looked at him, and immediately Hisashi grew out his claws. Claws? How did you manage to? Hisashi immediately boom directly at him and immediately slashes dead at Murashi's face. Murashi instantly dodged. Pathetic. Hisashi went in for attack after attack after attack. Murashi only dodged every single one of his attacks. You're not even using them correctly. He caught Hisashi's hand and immediately his hand was coated in scales. This is the correct way to use them. As his claws were suddenly coated in scales, he slammed them directly into Hisashi's stomach and instantly kicks him directly in the stomach again. Like look, what he did is, because I don't want to confuse y'all, he stabbed him in the stomach, threw him back, jumped and kicked him in the stomach. That's more realistic, but he sent them flying. After he sent them flying, he was slammed into a bunch of rocks. Hisashi ended up getting up. Though it was a struggle, he still got up. First thing he does is stare directly into his eyes of his father. Murashi, answer me this. Murashi returned. I'm listening. Why did you abandon me? I just told you I thought you weren't mine. And why is that? You were weak at birth. Do you not understand how stupid that is? Hisashi, you have no lightning. Our family's power is lightning. That's not my mother's power though. And you know that. Your mother's primary power is poison. Poison flames. You're only able to create fire that has no poisonous effect. You must come from a pure-blooded fire family. But the DNA was done a couple of months ago. You're mine. And since you are mine, it only makes me hate you even more. But like I said, you land this hit on me, I'll take back everything I've ever said. Hisashi boomed forward towards him and immediately dove in for a massive punch, filling in all of his Dragon Core energy into this one punch. As Murashi sees this, he saw it, just for the first time, a spark of purple lightning in Hisashi's eyes. He only saw it for a minuscule moment, but Hisashi punched, and Murashi instantly countered this attack and slammed his fist directly into Hisashi and sent him flying. But Hisashi was immediately called by Dracula, who said, "That's enough, Murashi. And who are you to tell me that?" Dracula walks into the ring. What type of father are you to abuse your son? My son is pathetic. He's a mere child in dragon years, and you know it. And so are you in vampire years, he'd say. The king of the vampires. Human-wise, you're only 16. Are you sure you even much want to do this? I'll fight on Hisashi's behalf, he'd say. And then you just threatened his life according to the story you gave me? Of course I did. Why wouldn't I? But You're a bastard. As he instantly, Dracula literally exploded in bats. Immediately, Marashi looked around, and instantly he ended up dodging a kick from Dracula. As immediately Dracula would phase and immediately slam his fist directly into Marashi's back and sent him flying. Marashi would immediately turn around and just grin. Instantly he vanished and slammed this, like he literally slammed his hand and like a chop formation onto the side of Dracula with pure lightning coming off of it as he sent him flying. He zoomed forward and kicked him directly in the face as immediately Dracula lifted up his hand. Instantly Marashi would freeze directly in place and feel his blood begins to crush itself. As instantly he would say, enough, and immediately he sent Marashi flying backwards, but Marashi just got up. The fight continued on for quite a while. We're not going to really cover the rest of it. The point is, in the end, Marashi still won the fight, and Dracula realizes pretty quickly that he's not as strong as he thought. Though, after all, he is the king of his vampires, even Dracula himself isn't the strongest vampire. He knows that the Michelsons are. Why did I introduce the Michelsons into the storyline? Y'all, it's not the actual Michelsons, it's just that it's the easiest last name to come up with when it comes to vampires. Be real. Michelsons, Salvatores, and I don't remember the people from Twilight. But point is, mostly because I didn't fucking watch it. I'm sorry, I couldn't watch after the first movie. It was absolute trash. The point is, those are the most, commonly used names for them. So I'm just went ahead and just said it. So if you guys want, come up with a last name down below in the comments for me. And yeah. Anyways, back to where I was. Izuku could be seen. Izuku was seen born many years later. At this point in time, believe it or not, he's still born at the same exact time in the original story. Yes, he was conceived way earlier, but because of his species, it took longer for him to be born. Therefore, he's born at the same time. Izuku just born pretty fucking big. Now, when Izuku was born, it nearly actually drained Inko of all of her magic and killed her. Inko barely, and I mean barely by the grace of God, survived. But after he was born, Izuku was raised by the vampires, and he was trained in all their fighting styles. But eventually, by the time period Izuku hit the age of, I'd say, 12, he wants to find out more about his other heritage. So, Hisashi ended up creating a portal and brought him to his home. When Izuku arrived, his presence was felt all across the kingdom, and immediately the king demanded to see who this is, who just entered his kingdom. And the reason behind this, anytime Izuku enters a supernatural kingdom, his presence is felt. He's the first of his kind. I mean, his presence is always going to be felt. His presence alone can actually, like him being a simple hybrid of these two powerful, broken species, is stronger than hybrids of 3 different species. Hell, even 4 different species. If he would have been half dragon, half witch, he would have been an even bigger problem. But the mother definitely wouldn't have survived if Inko was a witch. Because witches aren't immortal, they die pretty easily. But when Izuku pulled up, the king demanded to see him, and he was brought to the king. Hisashi, this is your boy. Yes, my lord. It's no longer a need to call me my lord. You brought us something unique. But why would you mix with a vampire? They're disgusting. Hisashi, answer me now! I don't know. I was horny. I don't really know what to say to this. But that same vampire is currently my wife, Uncle Tommy. So you're gonna have to accept that. Do not call me by my name. It is Lord to you. Lord Tommy, King of the Dragons, the most powerful of our people. Good. Look, I never had anything against you. It was your father, and you know this. If you guys need anything, let me know. We need to be trained. When I say we, Izuku needs to be trained. I've already learned all of our fighting skills and techniques, but I'm not able to teach them directly because I'm not a teacher. On top of that, our people refuses to teach me anything new. My son is a different story. He's an entirely new species. His presence alone brought fear to the entire kingdom. They wouldn't have a choice even if they wanted to. The king would say, "Fine, whenever you're ready." Kid, Izuku, what do you mean to say he's ready now? The king is surprised. Izuku does not sound like a 12-year-old, nor does he look like one. Izuku looks to be at least 16. It sounds like it too. That's because his mother was a vampire. It took him a lot longer to be born. How old is he physically? Oh nah, he's 12 physically. Then why does he sound like that? I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. I don't understand, man. Just know that he's technically 12. Okay. So, immediately, they get into the new fighting stance. And once the fighting stance is held, immediately, Izuku was trained for the next, 4 years. Now, finally, after these 4 years, Izuku ends up making it into UA. And this is where we're going to be ending off part 0. Let me know down below how you guys felt about this video. If you guys enjoyed it, comment down below any ideas you guys have and explain, any flaws you guys see in the video, because I know there are some flaws. I'm never going to tell you that there's not flaws in my videos, because I know my videos have flaws in them, and I will always know that. I'm open to any and all discussion. I feel like I may have overdid the backstory a bit, and I really think this video is a good 40 or 50 minutes long. I really don't know. But guys, get this video right here specifically to 200 views, and I lowered the goal by a lot, but get it to 200 views, and if you guys hit 200 views, I will give you guys a part 2. Oh yeah, 200 views, and I'm gonna say 40 likes, because y'all always pass up the like goal, so 40 likes.